People here are the original coffee people. Coffee is thought to have originated or been originally consumed from Oromo. So it's really cool. A lot of pride in coffee. The people behind it to make it interesting to add the flavor.
So what's the first thing we're gonna do when we get to Kenya?
In Kenya? We're not gonna do a lot of coffee stuff in Kenya when we land, right? Ethiopia, get Debeka. We're gonna find a little cart.
Drink Tusker. First thing is coffee related.
Yeah. Going back through Nairobi after our drone almost got taken away. We managed to slip out of that, and Drew almost didn't have a visa coming into Kenya. We didn't realize we need e-visas for Ethiopia too, so we finally got turned away from one of our flights, heading to a place that I know across town, Nairobi, where we can stay in a cottage, more like, and then we're gonna figure out the rest of the trip, but we might have to switch around the Kenya Ethiopia time, so just rolling with the punches. Cool, so today we're gonna hit up one of NKG's farms. NKG is the mill that we work with. We don't buy from this farm, but it's a good option for subscriptions or whatever. But they're doing some anaerobic, natural processing, and farms are pretty, or less than common, I would say, in Kenya. So it's always really cool to see an entire estate. I've only been to a handful of them, so that's where we're heading today up in Nyeri. So we're at Peerless Coffee Estate. It's a estate that's leased by Tropical Farm Management, who we work with Rungeto Cooperative. Some of the trees here are almost 100 years old. That's really old for coffee. 30 years is really old for coffee. But you can see the size of the base, and they stumped them 7 years ago. So the shoots are 7 years old, the bases are 100 years old. It's pretty cool. Oh, let's find Drew his first coffee tray. Here you go.
Oop, they're there.
That's it.
So the main objective here in Kenya, like our overall objective always, is to connect with farmers, especially being gone for a couple years, just reconnecting, bridging that relationship. That's a huge and very tangible piece of why we work at Origin. In Kenya specifically, Frederick, who I've known for 4 or 5 years, passed away from COVID. He oversaw the Rungeto Cooperative, so that was pretty tough to hear. But they have a new director, so I want to meet her and just, start building that relationship. And we're also, as always, looking for coffees for subscription and unique and interesting lots that maybe are fun and show us what's happening at the forefront of coffee as innovation just kind of takes hold here in Africa. So if we can do those things, that'll be a great trip.
Yes. What variety?
This is the mbuni. That's why naturals have trouble taking off in Kenya, because they view it as this, the leftovers, the cheapest coffee. Alright, so we're at one of the farmers who delivers to the Key Cooperative, or the Key washing station, part of the Ringeto Cooperative. He's got a mix of some pretty new Batian trees down here near the river, but then some older SL varieties up top. But it's kind of cool to see farmers that deliver to the cooperative because everything here is organized into those groups. Healthy looking farm, fly crop is coming in, even on these trees that are like 2 years old. It's a cool farm to see. I kind of have like an accompaniment origin shorthand for recording somewhat flavor notes, but like acidity and quality. On tables this big, you're just trying to knock off as many coffees as you can in the first couple rounds so you can go back and just hit the ones that are scoring higher. The problem with cupping in Kenya though is there's so many good coffees. Like 3 or 4 times around the table, I have it narrowed down to maybe 5 that now I'm trying to pick between or sort out. Great, so that was awesome. So we cupped Kirimakui, which is another one of the washing stations under Ringeto, but a couple good key lots, and then some from Thirurika, which I visited 2 years ago, and that's a different cooperative. But anyway, some good Tanzanians. But it was really cool to meet the manager for Tanzania. So like the number one question that I get is how do you meet new farmers, new contacts? And it's just like connecting with good people. You'll run into other good people. In this case, it's under the same umbrella, but it's cool to see that pathway to Tanzanian coffee. Being at Origin, meeting people, that's why you do business in person. It's more fun that way too. One of the things I look forward to the most in Ethiopia is the Buna, the Debeka coffee. Example of how ingrained into the culture coffee is. Like coffee came from Ethiopia, and it's one of the only origins for coffee where it's still like mostly consumed more than tea or anything else. It's the first thing you do when you come into someone's house, when you're welcoming new guests, almost like the Ethiopian version of the Japanese tea ceremony. It's just like such a special part of the culture. So we're gonna be drinking a lot of Debeka this trip, as always. What's the rain in this bread? That's COVID. So this is one of the sites that Israel is doing carbonic maceration at. And so like a lot of sites in Ethiopia, he has no washing facilities at this one. So they're doing carbonic, they're doing natural, and they're doing honey, which is pretty progressive. And it looks like they are floating cherries because there's no wash at the site at all. So that's why it is late in the season, so this will be common that you don't see washed, but they don't do that at this site. So DIM2 is just carbonic, honey, and naturals. So we're gonna check out the carbonic because that's, in my personal opinion, that's one of my favorite processes. And I'm super stoked that it's happening in Ethiopia. Equally stoked that Israel's doing it because he does everything well. Just like you can see this year from the carbonic we have from him. Have a lot of Oromo influence. That's the original people for coffee. So Oromo is like that's what we think of as like the original coffee people. Is that accurate?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool that you're getting coffee from the origins of coffee. You know, it wasn't transplanted here. It started here and grew up here, and it just comes out of the ground tasting good. So we got up really early this morning, about 5:30, and I wanted to get out here to Debeka farm, which is one of Israel's newer farms. So they have trees that are 5 months old, a little over a year old, and 2 months and change. But this farm is really unique for Ethiopia. It's totally flat, completely irrigated. They're doing fertilization through the irrigation system, which is extremely efficient and actually wastes a lot less fertilizer material and just applies it directly to the plants. So they're expecting 2 harvests per year from this farm. And there's a huge nursery here as well. Yeah, so 600,000 plants in the nursery here. Maybe 10 varieties from the Jima seed bank, and they're gonna be used for this farm, other farms, and then sold to local farmers in the area. One funny thing that just emphasizes like how much Ethiopians love their coffee is we're on this big farm surrounded by coffee, but the local people that are working on the farm, they have their own coffee. They can't go without their coffee for too long, just like us. It's a huge part of the culture. Just one of those things that I love about Ethiopia is how much they love their coffee.
How's it smell? Oh, it smells like amazing smell.
This farm has only been here for 4 years, and we visited it basically like its first year, and there's so much development. But if there's one thing about Israel that is consistent, it's there's constant progress, and every year there's new and exciting things happening. You know, every farm that we visited, one thing that I noticed is he has sites that are supporting the community that are like really building up people. I mean, that's how coffee should be, right? It should affect the whole area and ripple out. The bar is so low in coffee, like I've mentioned before, that it doesn't take a lot to give that effect. It really literally is just drinking better, more exciting, more adventurous coffees from people who care about their pickers and their communities. It's great to see that that's in force here at Bali Mountain and in all of Israel's sites that we visited this year. Yeah, it's been a great trip in Ethiopia. And then we're flying back to Addis tomorrow. We'll have more cupping in Addis at Israel's drying mill. Yeah, it's a long drive back, so we should get going.